On the outside, the Thompsons were the perfect family. John, a successful architect, and his wife, Margaret, a dedicated charity worker, lived in a picturesque home with their two charming children, Ella and Lucas. They had a lush garden, a friendly golden retriever named Max, and always greeted neighbors with a warm smile. To anyone passing by, their lives seemed flawless. But every picture-perfect family has its secrets. Act 1. The unease. One chilly evening, Emma, a new neighbor, moved into the house next door. Eager to make friends, she quickly noticed how immaculate the Thompsons' lives seemed. There was an unsettling calmness to their household. Each member seemed polite to the point of rehearsed. Every morning, they waved to Emma, but their smiles felt forced. One day, as she was taking out the trash, Emma spotted Ella, the young daughter, standing in the yard, staring blankly at the ground. When Emma called out to her, Ella glanced up, her eyes empty and cold. Then, with a faint smile that didn't reach her eyes, she turned and went inside without a word. A strange feeling washed over Emma. There was something deeply unsettling about that child's gaze, something she couldn't quite put into words. Act 2. The perfect image. Over time, Emma became closer to the family, accepting invitations for dinners and neighborhood gatherings. Inside the Thompson household, everything seemed meticulously organized, too perfect. The furniture was pristine, not a single item was out of place, and even the kids were impeccably well behaved. But during these dinners, Emma noticed small oddities that hinted at something darker. The family spoke in a peculiar way, as if they were constantly on edge. If Ella or Lucas ever made a mistake, dropped a spoon, or spilled a drink, John's eyes would flash with a silent fury. His mouth would tighten, and although he never raised his voice, his children would sit up, eyes wide, fear etched on their young faces. Margaret, on the other hand, seemed to hover in the background, watching her family with an intensity that bordered on obsessive. If anyone spoke to her children directly, she would step in, her answers quick and precise, as though afraid they might say something they shouldn't. Act 3. The darkness unveiled. One night, after a neighborhood party, Emma realized she had left her purse at the Thompsons' house. She went back to retrieve it and, noticing the lights were still on, decided to knock. But no one answered. As she peered through the window, she saw John and Margaret standing in the living room, their faces shadowed by the dim light. Ella and Lucas were there too, standing silently in a line. Emma could hear muffled voices coming from inside, John's words a harsh whisper. Suddenly, he grabbed Lucas's arm, his grip tight and unyielding. Emma's heart raced. She ducked down, hidden from view, but couldn't resist peeking inside again. She saw something that would haunt her forever. Margaret pulled out a small notebook from a drawer, flipping through the pages as she read off a list of rules to the children, her tone strict, almost robotic. Emma felt a chill. These were not normal family rules. No laughter without permission, no speaking out of turn, no showing fear or weakness. The children nodded obediently, their expressions devoid of the innocence or joy most kids had. Disturbed by what she saw, Emma began researching the Thompsons, hoping to uncover more about their past. She discovered shocking details. The family had lived in several towns before moving here, and each time they left, neighbors would describe them as strange, distant, yet perfectly behaved. There were also rumors of unexplained disappearances in every town they lived in, but nothing concrete to tie them to any crime. One night, Emma received a knock on her door. It was Ella, trembling, her eyes filled with fear. She whispered, "Can you help me? I want to leave." Emma immediately brought her inside, listening as Ella confessed the dark reality of her life. John and Margaret weren't just strict. They were part of a secret, twisted society that believed in perfecting the human spirit through extreme discipline and control. Ella revealed that they had been trained, conditioned to be flawless at any cost. and if they didn't comply, punishment was severe. Lucas was still trapped, too afraid to leave. Emma promised Ella she would help, but just as she was about to call the authorities, she heard a car pulling up outside. John and Margaret were back, and they knew where Ella was. Act 5. The final confrontation. Emma hid Ella in her basement and opened the door, greeting the Thompsons with a calm expression. But John's eyes betrayed his anger. "Is my daughter here?" he asked, his voice barely containing his fury. Emma feigned ignorance, but John pushed past her, his face contorted with rage. He searched the house, calling out for Ella. Emma's heart pounded as she clutched her phone, prepared to call for help if needed. Suddenly, Margaret appeared, her face eerily calm. "We know what we're doing may seem harsh, but you don't understand," she said, her tone void of emotion. "Perfection requires sacrifice." In that moment, Ella emerged from her hiding place, her voice clear and strong. "No more," she said, staring her parents down. For the first time, she looked fearless, defiant. Emma stood by her side, ready to protect her. With a final look of contempt, John and Margaret left, muttering something about starting over. They disappeared into the night, leaving Ella behind. Epilogue. New beginnings with Emma's help. Ella was placed in a safe home, away from her parents' influence. The Thompsons left the neighborhood soon after, vanishing without a trace, just as they had from their previous towns. The neighbors were left with rumors and unease, piecing together a chilling picture of the perfect family that wasn't perfect at all. Emma never forgot that night, and each time she looked at the house next door, she couldn't shake the feeling that dark secrets still lingered within its walls. But one thing was certain. Ella was finally free from perfection, ready to live a life on her own terms, no longer bound by the darkness of her family's twisted ideals. The end.